Demonetization is a battle that YouTubers have been fighting for years. YouTube has never been all that clear about what we are and are not allowed to be putting in our videos and our titles and our thumbnails and all that stuff. It seems like we're always just kind of testing the limits to see what we can post, what we can get away with, what gets us in trouble. And then a couple years ago I came out and released a big word list where I've been testing out almost all of the English words, just seeing which ones will get you demonetized and which ones won't. And over time there have been quite a few changes that have come along, not just to my own list, but to the actual monetization process in general. So let's just look at some things that have changed a little bit. Alright, so first off, for anyone who's paid close attention to this list, you'll notice that things have gotten a little bit different around here. So of course there's the All Words tab, where, you know, I've just listed out every word, and then I'll give you a result of which one came out as green and which one came out as yellow, as in my most recent test. But then the Demonetized Words tab has changed a little bit over time. So rather than just only showing you what are the current words that are on the list, now I'm going to be showing which words are yellow in my most recent test, but also which ones I've seen yellow in the past. So if I've seen a word ever get demonetized at any point in my testing, it will end up on this list, and it can pretty much never go away from this list. But of course there might be words added to this list, and they will switch between confirmed and possible. So let me just show you my test account that I have right here. So this was just a recent batch that I was doing, where I was testing most of the yellow words over here. This whole YouTube Studio thing that they forced on everybody maybe like a year ago has just been such a pain to work with. So like in the old system, you know, everything kind of loaded pretty quick. You could just open up 30 tabs, change everything. Everything would save just super quick. All of the pages were very simple. But now it's just like, if I open 30 tabs, like my computer practically freezes up. So I gotta sit there and wait just for it to load. And then whenever I change the title, I've gotta sit and wait for sometimes a few days just to be sure that the monetization status actually changes. So I mean, just look at some of the weird results that I've come up with. So like I said, I was testing most of the yellow words, but it was all of the yellow words that were showing up green. And so now we've got just so many words that used to be, you know, hard yellow like this, but are now showing up as monetized. And this is just kind of a behind the scenes look at what it looks like on my test account, and just how I get the results that I get and transfer over to this list. Because I know it can seem really weird if I'm ever telling you the words like this are words you can get away with and won't get you demonetized. I can tell you that 100% of the results you see are results that they gave me. I have no personal input. I mean, sometimes I'll pick and choose which words that I want to test more than others, but as far as the results that show over here, it's just up to whatever the bot tells me. And so as for the question of are they more strict or less strict than they were a couple years ago, I want to say that it's a little bit less strict. I think you can get away with a little bit more. I think they've gotten a little bit better about what you can be posting. What's kind of a new feature that they added maybe a little over a year ago is that once you turn on monetization for a video, then you get taken to this ad suitability page. So like right here it says your rating accuracy is high, so we'll monetize videos using your input. But if there's a strong sign your video input is inaccurate, your monetization may change. So it's basically saying, we trust you for now, but you better not lie about not having stuff like this. And it can be really confusing too, because I know they try to give you a lot of examples of bad things that might be in the video, but it's like, what if you had a video where you were just talking about violence or something, and you were like, or you're like telling a story of something violent? Then it's like, do you check off a box in the violent category? It's like, I don't know, it's a pretty confusing system. I mean, I personally never really make any content that's very edgy, so I pretty much always just put none of the above. I mean, sometimes I have checked off like inappropriate language, especially when I'm talking about this word list thing over here, but for the most part, I don't even know how in detail you can really get when uploading your video. But it's kind of weird that they also just like force you to submit the rating, and once you submit it, you can't go back on it. And then even after you submit it, it will still come back and like scan your video, and you can still get demonetized on it. And so that's why I was just like, what's the point of this accuracy testing? I think it's just like maybe it'll give you better results as far as which words you're allowed to use if you have a high rating, which just makes this whole testing thing even more complicated. So I've been working on this list pretty much non-stop for the past couple months. I actually went through and tested every single word on the list again. So every time I do that, I end up turning a lot of green words yellow, a lot of yellow words green. My regular routine for testing things is usually just like going through these words and retesting them. Maybe I'll go through and only test the dark yellows, or I'll go through and only test the light yellows, or go through and only test greens. Sometimes I'll test words that I feel should be yellow that aren't, or maybe I'll test the words that should be green but are yellow. Or I'll just test words that people email me, so if you have suggestions, you can just send it to the email address that's on here. But yeah, back with the YouTube Studio Classic, I used to be able to test the entire thing in maybe a week or two. But because the monetization updating on this new studio is so slow and often so inaccurate, I have to take multiple days at a time for every batch. And oftentimes, I feel like the testing didn't come out right, and so then I'll have to retest that batch sometimes. So like, you'll see a lot of videos that are just called 0, 1, 2, 3. So anytime I have a bunch of videos that are like yellow throughout the list and I want to just do a clean reset, I'll just change every title. I'll go to video, select all of them, edit title, which I don't know of any other reason besides what I'm doing that this tool would come in handy, by the way. I think it's really strange that they added this, but it works for me, where I'll just replace the title of every single one with like a bunch of zeros. And the purpose of that is just to kind of like make them all go back to green. Because whenever YouTube is scanning words in your titles, they basically see it as innocent until proven guilty. So if it's just a bunch of numbers, there's literally nothing wrong with that. So they should theoretically change it all back to green. But as you see, so these were changed probably 3 or 4 days ago now. And some of them have gone green like they're supposed to, and some of them are still yellow. Seeing as just how like that is inaccurate sometimes, you can imagine just how inaccurate like other test results can be sometimes. But anyways, hopefully there's enough people still left around that still finds this video useful. I have no statistics on how many people have ever viewed the list. I mean, anytime I log on, there's usually between maybe like 2 and 12 people viewing it at any given time. And I know people will mostly just stop in to use it for like a minute and then log off. So, I mean, for all I know, there could be like a few hundred people that use it a day. But let me know if you guys like this new viewing thing with the 2 layers on the list. For the past few months, I was actually doing 3 layers. I had a possible, likely, and very likely. But I actually just now figured out that that was kind of messing with my tests. And so I just kind of simplified it a little bit to words that are currently yellow and words that used to be yellow, which a lot of these will probably be yellow again in the future. Like, I just tested 1,200 yellow words the other day, and then like 700 of them came out as green. And so I retested those 700 or so, and then like 100 of those switched back, like immediately after. So I'm just like, okay, sometimes I just have to keep retesting things to get accurate results, which makes this take even longer. I know every time I bring this up, people are like, oh, you should automate this. But the fact that I've got to like pick and choose which things to retest and decide which results to trust and which ones to not, that's not really something that you can let automation decide. But anyway, that's kind of the whole status of the list and monetization in general. I've been putting in so many hours into the whole list thing that I might be a little bit quiet on the testing for a little while. I'm just going to kind of take a break.